Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax. Let's talk a bit about the energy of the day. And today we are also going to take a look at the Human Design Week because today is the first day of the next week. So we'll do a little bit about the moon, and then we're going to jump right into what is going on in terms of what we can expect energetically for the week. And it's kind of an interesting week because mostly the transiting planets are kind of quiet. I mean, there's nothing popping up that we haven't already been exposed to. There's nothing out there, new and exciting, or shaking us up. So we have the opportunity then to just live and breathe through the things that we've already experienced. The big news, the big, astrological newsmakers were last week. And with Mercury turning retrograde and then the lunar eclipse. And this week we have this opportunity to let all of this kind of filter into us and sit with us so that we can integrate all of the different things that we've learned and all of the experiences that maybe came up for us, or even just the thoughts or the experiences that we need to integrate. So today is the beginning of the new Human Design Week, but it doesn't really take us into any territory that we haven't already expressed or experienced over the last couple of weeks. I mean, there may be a couple of little things that are new, but for the most part, we're not dealing with any big newsmakers as we move into this week. Let's see. Good morning, Mimi. It's good to see you out there. I'm glad you could join us. So let's take a look at what's happening first off today in the regular astrology. Today we have a void of course moon. The moon is moving void at 3:42 p.m. West Coast time. That puts it at about 6:42 p.m. East Coast time. You guys have it good, right? Because it's the end of the day, the work day. You're probably on your way home. For those of us on the West Coast, it's a little bit earlier. The day ends probably with more things hanging than more things completed. What are you going to do, right? The moon moves void of course. And then it is void of course until 3:54 a.m. tomorrow morning. And luckily, most of us will be up at the point in time that the moon is moving out of the sign of Pisces and into Aries. And that gives us the glimpse into energy that can take us into new places and to energy that's a little more action oriented and less watery energy. It's more fiery energy. So that'll happen at 6:54 a.m. for those of you on the East Coast, 3:54 a.m. for those of us on the West Coast. So mostly the void of course moon is happening while we sleep. I like it that way. It means that maybe your dreams might have some issues going on, but for the most part, your day-to-day life isn't going to be much affected. Now, today, the moon is still in Pisces, and that takes us into the conjunction with Neptune. And when the moon and Neptune conjunct, several different things can happen. One, it is a situation where we become a lot more intuitive or in tune with what is going on around us. And that is also being echoed by the information coming through the human design gates being struck this week. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. But the moon and Neptune is also highly spiritual and is often there's sort of a split taking us to the things from our past and also for us to be able to look into and see what may be coming to us down the road in the future. The trick then for this particular one is to stay rooted here in the now and not let one or the other take you into a territory that hasn't even happened yet or that has already happened and doesn't need to be looked into any deeper. So the moon is also in a sextile 60-degree angle with the planet Pluto. And remember, planet Pluto is really about empowering us, and it creates deep and lasting transformation, sometimes a slow transformation. It's not like the planet Uranus that boom hits us and something changes. It's more slow burn, right? It's building up. When you build a campfire, you put down the kindling and then maybe some of the dry leaves and things to get your fire started, and then you've got your bigger pieces and then the bigger piece. So the fire is taking off slowly and, eventually becomes a slow burn and then bursts into flame. And that's kind of the energy of Pluto. It starts this little change going on wherever it is in your chart. And it is always in the background. It's always putting consistent and insistent pressure on you to make the transformation, but it's not in the same way as Uranus does, which says, oh, hell no, no waiting, we're just doing it. So the moon now in a sextile with Pluto is just helping move this along, whatever has been slowly transforming in your life. And remember, from Human Design, Pluto has been sitting at gate 54, which is about ambition and drive and the need to become enlightened. That is the biggest energy that we look at gate 54 in terms of your spiritual journey here on the planet. It's the drive to become enlightened. If we look at it more in the physical sense, it's about acting on your ambitions, on your dreams and your goals. So Pluto is putting that insistent pressure on us to get clarity around what it is we want and to take the steps that we need to get there. I see this busting out all over in my life right now, where there's this, idea that about getting clarity around what I want, what do I desire? And I see this in my clients as well right now. And maybe not having been clear around what it was that I wanted, and then having mixed results because of that. So here we have validation that energy is present and it's burning right there within us to get more and more clear on what it is we desire, what it is we want to use our gifts and our talents on, and then to take the steps necessary to get there. So the moon is a timekeeper. So maybe what we're seeing then is the next step in that, right? In the next step to get there. The moon is also in an opposition to the planet Venus. You can kind of see that in the sky at night as the moon is rising later and later, and Venus is setting at the same time the moon is rising. So last night I couldn't tell. It was too smoky in the sky, so I couldn't really see the stars shining very well. And today it's pretty cloudy, so I'm not sure I'd be able to see it. But someone go out tonight if you have clear skies in your area and see if you can catch the moon rising at the same time that Venus is setting. It would be a beautiful sight. And that's about it going on from the focus of the moon. There aren't any new planetary transits that we're heading into. We already talked about the T-square yesterday with the planet Uranus at the tip and the Sun and Mars in opposition to one another. That's waning even as we speak. You can still see it in the chart of the day. See if I can show it to you right here. You see that red right triangle over here? There's Uranus. Comes down to the Sun and over to Mars and then up back to Uranus. So it's still in effect, but it is waning. I do know tomorrow, we'll probably talk more about this tomorrow, the Sun and let me see, it was Uranus, and Mars are in a square tomorrow. So tomorrow begins a day of perhaps some surprises. Even today, there may be some surprises building up. And I mean good surprises. I don't mean anything outrageous. Mimi says, slow and steady works. I have experienced the slows since the full moon eclipse. And there's something to be said about the slows, isn't there, Mimi? Because a lot of times I feel in my life, sometimes I'm running through my day with my hair on fire, right? I'm moving from one thing to the other and maybe from one fire to the other or one event to the other. And this is the kind of week that takes us into that slow burn where things are moving a lot slower. Now, if we look at, I realized sitting on my computer, I had two human design programs. One is the Maya Mechanics imaging that Jovian Archive uses, and I also had New Sunware on my computer. The problem with New Sunware is that it never really gives me the just now chart with only the conscious line or the personality line highlighted. It always gives me the unconscious line too. But there isn't an unconscious line in a just now moment. There's only the conscious line. So I finally looked into the Maya mechanics and discovered, haha, I can do it. So here we start, and forgive the writing, those are just my notes. So here's what a chart of today would look like. And this is setting us up for the whole entire week. The only thing that changes here is the moon's presence. And what we see is if you were born today, this is that you would be a projector, that all you would have defined is your head and your ajna. And for those of you who do not normally have the head and ajna defined, like I do not, you suddenly have your head and ajna defined, right? So that's an interesting sort of energy for the week for you, because normally you are inspired by many things, and normally you have no access to certainty. But this week, a whole different story develops here. You may be finding that you're inspired by a specific thing, something that maybe was born out of last week's eclipse or something that has occurred since. Maybe it's an art project like Mimi, you work on different projects. For me, I got inspired about writing either an ebook or a paper on the galactic center. And so I'm going to be working on that. And so it tends to pull our focus into something in a specific direction. What I want you to be careful about is that the idea of having certainty is only in action for this week, right? Only in action for this week. And if you carry on this certainty beyond that, you may find yourself caught up in a rut. And unless, of course, you already have your head and ajna defined. Good morning, Asa. It's good to see you. And so being very aware, these are transiting energies. And the transiting energies are those that are only in effect for a specific period of time. Let me tell you how long, because I didn't check that out. And let's see, that is only in effect until August 6th. And then it all falls apart. Right? So don't let yourself get caught up in something that needs that kind of certainty and that kind of inspiration for a very long period of time. Because if your head and ajna are open now and defined only by this transit, then by next week, poof, it's gone. Right? And you may find yourself really frustrated by not having the same level of excitement or inspiration to keep acting on something. Finish it up this week, indeed. Mimi, the Galactic Center. Yes, I woke up yesterday with that as an inspiration. Of course, yesterday I was gone all day, so I never got one moment to work on it. And today I have some time this morning. I'm going to start working on that. I don't even know what it was that inspired me to do it, because nothing is sitting at the Galactic Center right now. So I'm just going with it, right? I'm going into the energy of intuition with that moon sitting on top of Neptune today. So let's talk about the gates then that the sun and earth will be at during this upcoming week. It actually has moved in there today. So the sun is already sitting at the gate 33. In human design, we call this the gate of storytelling. And it is also a gate of revelation at times. It is a gate that sits right here on the, let me see if I can show this to you. It is sitting right here on the throat center corner right here. And it's moving downward toward the identity center, right? So it is a gate that is designed to speak. And the speaking here is what we need to be very aware of, because this is the gate in its lowest expression is the energy of forgetting. And it is really not forgetting like, oh, I forgot that I have an appointment today. It is the veil of forgetting that we move through in order to incarnate here on the planet. And then it becomes in this gate the desire to awaken from that veil of forgetting. And the forgetting is also involving forgiving yourself for forgetting your true self, right? There's a sense here where we must stop beating ourselves up over the things that we're doing or that we're not doing. And here we have this energy that forgets the truth and then tells a story about it. Now, we pass these stories on. This is throat energy. So we're designed to pass the story on. But what story are we passing on? And is it the truth? That is what we're looking at this week as far as the sun is concerned. So in the gift of this particular gate, we have the energy of mindfulness. And mindfulness means we've got to look at what's going on up here. What are we telling ourselves? What is the story that we are keeping alive? And in the retelling of the story, we make it more and more real. And I had a friend once, she's since moved away. And so I've been out of contact with her for a while, but she used to say, "It seems so real, doesn't it?" And what she was referring to is the story that we tell ourselves about what we can do, where we've come from, who we are, where we can go, what's possible, what's not possible, and why I don't have the things I want, et cetera, why my relationships are falling apart. So we tell ourselves these stories, and the more and more we are forgetting that we're the storyteller and or the story writer, the more and more real that story becomes. So this week reminds us that, maybe even reveals to us in some way the potential that we have to write the new story, right? So getting on board with that new story can take us into places we've only dreamed about in the past. And so the gate 33 all week is where the sun is sitting. And that is, I wanted to, before I go on, I want you to look at this chart. Let me back it up a little bit, because I want you to notice there are a lot of hanging gates. The only two that connect, the only channel that's connected is right up here in the head and the ajna, and everything else below is hanging. So these are gate 19 and 41, which we've already talked about a lot because the planet Mars and the South Node had been sitting there. Gate 54 we talked about with Pluto. 27 is where Uranus is sitting. 6 is a new addition there. What's sitting there? Oh, that's Venus is sitting at gate 6. So we have impact. Gate 22, we're gonna do a deep dive study one of these days in 22. We have Saturn now sitting at 10, and we also have let's see, what is sitting there. 31 is the North Node, and that is about our taking leadership in the world. So when we have a lot of hanging gates like that, these are places where we're going to connect up with other people's energies. So a projector, this is the perfect example of a projector who has a defined head and ajna, the rest of the centers open, and really no authority. There's no authority in this particular chart, which means that we're looking to our connections with other people to help us see clearly what is the next step or what it is that we're meant to do next. Now, knowing that this is a projector chart doesn't erase your natal human design chart. So I just want you to be aware of that. If you're a generator, you're still a generator. You didn't suddenly become a projector. But what does happen is these different gates may be connecting up to your gates in your natal chart, and you're going to want to take a look at that. Okay, gate 19 is where the Earth is sitting this week. Now, remember, this is the gate where we have this need, it seems, to look outside of ourselves for authority, and it creates the shadow of codependence. And we've even created God as an authority figure in our lives because we are consistently in the shadow looking for that authority outside of ourselves. So here we have this need in this particular time to ground in this energy of looking to ourselves for fulfillment and not looking at others to fulfill us. That doesn't mean we don't need people in our lives or that we don't want people in our lives, because we all want love and we all want to have that kind of relationship with another. But codependence means that I totally lose myself in the dependence upon another person. So remember, in the gift in this particular place, we are attuning ourselves to the needs of others and how it is that we can use our gifts and talents to best serve humanity. So instead of being codependently linked with someone, instead you are choosing your gifts and your talents as a way to serve the greater good. And that's what the earth is taking us to. So in doing that, maybe you've also, with these two together, got to reevaluate the story you're telling yourself. You may be a great healer and you may know that, but you may have been telling yourself that you can't make it in the world as a healer. You may be telling yourself other stories that aren't true. So getting in tune with what is it that you're doing. There's a great sensitivity in this particular gate. And for those of you who do not normally have gate 19, this may feel very odd to you as you're suddenly very aware of what's going on in your environment. Clues or cues or even conversations that move through you with animals, plants, food, the environment. And not that I mean you're going to start talking to plants or animals even, but this is a sensitivity to their needs, to what is going on with the animal world. I've been pretty much attuned to the silence that's going on in my world around here. It's a little disconcerting because typically right now in the morning, I should be hearing a ton of birds, and I don't hear one. And that is disconcerting. But is it because the birds have disappeared, or I'm just noticing the loss of the bird sounds? They could have gone elsewhere. I mean, it doesn't mean they're not out there. It just means I'm not hearing them. And I've become very aware that there's something different in the atmosphere here right now. So I don't know what that means, and I'm not going into fear around it. I mean, to us, when this happens, it's earthquake weather, which there is really no such thing. But to me, I was like kind of tuning into that, going, okay, Mother Earth, what's up here? And it is Earth that is sitting at 19. So we're being very much called to be sensitive to what is going on with the ground beneath our feet, with the other life forms that inhabit this planet. The other day, I must have been sort of feeling this coming on because I hadn't really looked at it yet. And I was sitting out behind my house. There's a giant Douglas fir tree behind my house. And I looked at it and I told my husband, this tree needs water. It's crying for water. And he looks at me like I've got two heads. And I said, no, look, the new growth is dying on this tree. And that means it doesn't have enough water to support the new growth for this year. So he immediately got the sprinkler out and started watering around the tree. But normally what I've noticed that, I don't know, but suddenly I was very in tune with what is going on around me. Same thing for all of you, a sort of waking up to the energies that are inhabiting the earth around you, whether that's animals, whether that's plants or trees, the food that you're getting ready to eat, whatever that is. Be sensitive to your environment. In the highest expression, remember, this is the gate of sacrifice, or the gene key that takes us to sacrifice. And we learned that sacrifice wasn't something that we were giving up. It was something that we were embracing as a way to give of ourselves, as a way to be included in the grand design of what's going on here in this particular incarnation. So the week takes us to some very interesting energies, but these are not overly action-oriented energies. And that's why maybe I'm sensing the quiet now, the week of integration, where maybe we can integrate some of these thoughts and some of these sensitivities into our beingness. Now, there are some other energies that are hanging out there that we should talk about this morning. And I can't remember if we got to talk much about Saturn sitting at gate 10. I think it was just before I was leaving for my sister's house on the 26th, the planet Saturn moved from the gate of joy, where it had been sitting for a while. Remember, it was about joy and bliss and vitality. And now it's moved down to gate 10, which is the energy that it takes us more into the love of self. And so the lower expression of that gate 10 is about being obsessed with oneself. But the higher expressions is really tapping into the piece of the tapestry that you are, right? The piece of the tapestry that you are. So if we think of humanity as a giant tapestry, where the tapestry is all one, think of it as a quilt, right? Think of humanity as one giant quilt, and every little piece of that quilt is a human being. Then you have this identity as part of the whole, but you never lose your individual self because you're always also a part of a piece of the giant tapestry that is life. So the gate 10 with Saturn sitting there reminds us of that and literally dares us to become empowered by the love of self without getting into self-centeredness or hold on, let me back that up, because I don't think self-centered is a negative. So let me say it's more about becoming, we don't need to become self-obsessed or selfish, but it is the request that we become more self-centered. And if we break that down, it is about being centered within one's own self. And from that, you have strength. You have the opportunity to share from your largesse and not sharing from a deficit. So how can we give to the world? How can we support the whole of the tapestry if we can't become self-centered? Therein lies the quandary, right? So we have to become self-centered, but we don't have to become obsessed or vain or selfish, right? It's not about, oh, me, and then you. It's about how do I strengthen myself and my gifts and my talents in order to be able to share in the best way and to best show my part of the tapestry in its highest and best form. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Good morning, Michelle Brooks. Good morning, Natasha. Natasha says, no wonder I have pressure in my head. Now I am defined. Right. I'm feeling it, Natasha, kind of in my sinuses. When I looked at myself without makeup this morning, I had circles. You can't see them. They're cleverly hidden in the light. Such is the case, right? When we go on air, we can do things to hide it. But I was feeling that pressure as well. Actually, I feel it up here too. So that makes sense. The head and then the ajna a little bit lower. So we may feel that pressure. I almost want to clear my ears and can't seem to do that. But it is all about the head and the ajna being defined and our working through this energy of forgetting and forgiving and becoming more mindful and letting revelation occur for us. But then also engaged with that is that sensitivity that we are a part of this bigger picture, let's say, or this tapestry. Now, if we look at the moon, the gates of the moon today, one, it is right now at gate 22, which sits on the solar plexus. So let me show you my little picture again. And we have the solar plexus right here, gate 22 going up, moving up toward the throat. Oh, that means I have a defined throat today because I have gate 12. So my gate 12 hangs. But now with the moon this morning, it is connected. So this morning I am truly channeling. That's too funny. And speaking from a place where I don't even know it's coming from. But what I find really interesting about the gate 22 on the emotional center, remember, we are evolving as humans as our human design continually pushes us to evolve, to use our solar plexus more in making decisions in our lives. In other words, we're here to learn how to use that energy of what feels good, what feels correct, as opposed to the older energy of fear that was pushing us into doing things that are protectionistic. Everything that we see in our outer world right now, especially in this country with the whole Make America Great Again and the immigration issues, they're all a symptom, if you will, of that dying paradigm of fear, where if we allow those energies of fear to drive us into making decisions, we're holding on to the old paradigm. As we move toward 2023, I believe it is, we are letting go of that old paradigm of fear and moving clearly and squarely into what makes us feel good, what feels correct. And that is something that we must consider with time. In the moment, because it's part of the emotional center, we are tapped into emotion. Right now, we may feel the emotion of love. And so everything is peachy keen and we're just willing to do anything. And then later on, we may get into the energy of boredom. And now we've got to shake things up and do things. So that's why we wait to make key decisions, especially when we're defined emotionally with clarity over time, because emotions have their highs and their lows. They flow like waves, right? Um, but gate 22 has a deeper process that is occurring. And that process is about our embodying the divine. So there's an involution that is occurring through gate 22, as there is an evolution occurring through gate 55, which is also on the emotional center. So we see these key things being triggered for us right now. So what we could be connecting with this morning, because this is really just this energy of the morning, is how can I bring in the divine and embody that energy and move through my day from that point of view, from that point of view. And then further, how can I continually embody that, the truth of who I am, and let that ring through my life from here on out? Just because the moon moves fast and this energy moves out of the realm of your design doesn't mean that you don't have it, because everybody has a gate 22. It's just a matter of whether it's defined or not. And by the way, we're going to talk more about that when we talk about the centers. And I haven't looked at Facebook yet this morning to determine what day we're going to be doing that. I put out a poll yesterday, so asking for the best date. And if I choose a date that you couldn't make it, don't worry about that, because it is going to be recorded and you will be able to have access to it later. It is part of a process of teaching people about their human design, and the centers are a huge part of that. So we're going to look at that in depth. And it may take us a couple of sessions because there's 9 centers. So good morning, Debbie. Good to see you out there this morning. And Peggy, good to see you. Great. I started to understand your topic little by little. I love it. Right? I love it, Peggy. That's perfect. Thank you so much. You give me the encouragement to keep going on and teaching people little by little what's going on in their human design. Michelle Gay, good morning. She says, I'm totally late. Londa, the almighty I am. And I know this morning, Londa, that you have some things that you need to be writing about. This is a great time for you to embody that almighty I am and really be inspired to write from that place or to teach from that place. So, and as well, forgiveness entering into that picture so that we can sort of forgive the story that we've been telling ourselves about how small and inconsequential we are. Because that's a story, right? That's a story we've been saying over and over, and we're tired of it. We need to let go of that story. So let me see. The other gate that the moon will sit at today is a little more disconcerting than the gate 22. Later in the day, it moves into the gate of turbulence, gate 36, also on the emotional center. So what do we have? We have a day where emotions are being triggered at various times. And the gate 36 is a fun gate. It is a gate that gets bored easily, but out of boredom becomes more of the adventurer. Now, it can lead to turbulence because sometimes they have a tendency to kind of overthrow the apple cart. What is that? What is that called? Upset the apple cart, right? They just go out and do things that, create a feeling of anything other than this boredom, right? So be careful of this energy. Don't let the disturbance in the force of that time make you throw over things that you've been working on. If you get to this energy where you're feeling that kind of irritation running through you, go take a walk, go outside and water your plants. Go do something different than what you've been focusing on, because that's what you need to do. You just need to change up the energy, and that will take you a long way into seeing how this energy can cause you problems in your life, right? Because so many times the people that I have the most, or the people that come to me that have the most difficulties in their lives, are the people with gate 36, and they're using the energy incorrectly. And that means often they're, jumping from one thing to another on an emotional whim. So we all have to learn about this energy. You all have a gate 36. And today it will be defined. The highest expression in this gate is compassion. And I want to remind you that compassion is also needing to be inwardly focused, right? We've got the energy of the moon in Pisces for most of the day, and Pisces representing compassion, where often it's most easy, I think, for us to look at others and throw compassion out there to the world or to the people in our lives, but more difficult maybe for us to bring inner compassion. And that's what I need for you all to understand is compassion is a two-way street. And so what? You've made mistakes. So what? You've done things wrong. It doesn't make you a bad person. Have compassion for yourself. And even if you're feeling irritated and you don't get that project done that you think you needed to get done today, so what? So what? The energy isn't there to do it anyway. So why keep forcing yourself through that irritation? Take the opportunity to go do something different. And by the way, this is the energy just of the day, right? The rest of the energies we've been talking about were mostly about the week, but this is just the energy of the moon today. Some of the longer term energies, of course, we're very aware of. Jupiter still at gate 1, teaching us about our life purpose, aligning us with our gifts and talents so we can really serve the greater good by living our life purpose. If you are confused about what your life purpose is, I stand here ready to help you find it, right? Get a reading. And Saturn, we talked about gate 10, Uranus, gate 27. Gate 27, gate 27. I get it now. I get it. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I don't normally have gate 27 defined in my chart, but suddenly it's defined. And what did I want to do? This is a gate that takes us to the nurturing energies of food, connects us to wanting to cook and nurture, take care of, and clean, and, just basically be the mothering sort of figure. The other day, I told my husband, I want to make some oatmeal cookies. I wanted to make oatmeal cookies. I told you girls that yesterday. I wanted to make oatmeal cookies, and I didn't have anything here to make oatmeal cookies with. I had oatmeal, but I didn't have the raisins, and I certainly didn't have the flour. And I was really bummed because I wanted to make cookies. There was something that I felt like I really wanted to do, that I could feed my grandkids by giving them cookies, or feed myself or even my husband by making cookies. I didn't get to do it, but maybe today I'll run to the store and get the ingredients so I could make oatmeal cookies, because Uranus is filling us with that inspiration to act on those nurturing energies. I want to feed you. I want to clothe you. I want to make something for you. I want to cook for you. I want to take care of you. And remembering to also turn that inward and take care of yourself, right? Get yourself that manicure, that pedicure, that massage, to take care of your health, to take care of you, factor yourself in as well. Uranus is here for a long time. So we may be inspired over the long haul to really include others in the things that we want to share. Neptune, long is on the head, and gate 4 on the ajna, and that is why the head and ajna are defined for everyone right now, because Neptune and because of Mercury retrograde sitting at gate 4. And Neptune at gate 63, and it's triggering the feeling that things just aren't clear. Like, you may have implications of things that you should be doing, of places that you should be going, or people that you should be connecting with, but there's just something not certain about it yet. And it can trigger doubt, and maybe a suspicion that you're forgetting something, or doubt that you're on your path, or doubt that you're doing the right things. Well, doubt and suspicion are really good energies for us from the standpoint of it kind of acts as our bullshit meter, if you will, to know when it is that we're not hearing the truth from someone. But often we turn it inward and we doubt ourselves. We doubt our motivations. We doubt our abilities, our gifts and talents. That is the exact wrong use of this energy. And so if you find yourself in that quandary, let that one go, right? Don't trigger that energy. Become inspired by really discovering what it is that your gifts and talents are, and how it is that you can share them best with the world. Doubt, not very much our friend, unless it is our ability to see through what people are selling us as the truth, right? So, for example, if we paid attention to all of the advertising that goes on out there in the world, we would believe that we're all fat and ugly and in need of plastic surgery or some kind of drugs to fix us. In reality, you're not broken. Right? You're not broken. And the consistent barrage of things that we see in that outer world can convince us that there's something wrong with us. We can become convinced that because we don't know what our life path is, or because someone else is talking to you about, finding your life path, that you become convinced that you're not on yours. Don't let other people's words take you to places. Live from your own truth. And that's the huge message in this week, is living from your own truth. All right. So let me take a look here, see how people are doing. Yes, so much doubt. Asa, absolutely. And the more openness you have in your chart, and openness. So when I look at this particular chart of the day, you see those white centers. All of those white centers are open centers. Those open centers create the ability for us to absorb the energy from our environment. We tend to take it in and expand that energy and then rebroadcasting it. It can become a place where we are living a conditioned life or a conditional life, not living our own life. So here is the reason why we have to question everything that's coming in. Is this true for me? Using your authority in your chart to understand what is your truth. So it's time that you spend working on you that's important, and not so much the interference of what's going on around you. But those open centers can make it harder for you to know, to tease out what's mine and what's yours. Right? So that's why knowing your human design is so important. All right. So I think I am done for the morning. So here's a couple of things I want to let people know. One, today I am going to make the decision on the date for the webinar on the Human Design Energy Centers. Figure it will be an 1.5 hour webinar. You will need your human design chart to get the most out of the webinar. And if you do not have your human design chart, then please go to my website and request your free human design chart. Okay? It's easy. It's free. The webinar, I'm doing this one for free, right? This will be no charge. And that way, anybody who misses it that day will be able to access it. And this will be my gift to you to learn your human design more fully so that we can integrate all of these energies, these changes that need to take place on this planet. But if you don't have your chart, it won't make much sense to you. So please get your chart. If you've already requested your chart at some point in the past and you can't find it, it's okay. Just let me know that you lost your chart and you need a new one. Not a problem. I have no problem doing that. Really, I save all those charts. So all I have to do is go back, pick it up, and email it to you so you get it. All right. Or if you're like Michelle and possibly Londa and maybe some others of you, you've written all over the face of your chart and you need a new one just so you could see it clearly, let me know that too. Because, I write all over charts. I'm always printing new ones for myself because they're just so fun to write on. And then I can't see it anymore. So, all right. That's it for me today. Tomorrow, we will take a look at the month of August, August 1st. Can you believe that, people? It is going to be August, the 8th month of the year. That puts us over that hump. We're way closer to Christmas now than I even want to think about. But we will take a look ahead at the month of August. What can we expect? What are some of the highlights? And in the meantime, I wish you all a wonderful day. Mwah! Much love to you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.